If you haven't seen the intro video that I've made for this video series, the reason that I decided to name all of this Up Out It is, first off, because for me, the worst part about having depression was just not being able to get out of bed, not really being able to really do much with my day, and just how the worst places that I've ever been mentally have been during those days when I would just lay in bed. Up Out It, like long form, stands for get up, get out, and get it. And it's the idea that if you want to accomplish something, like anything from your day's errands to long-term career goals, relationship goals, whatever you want to accomplish, you have to first get yourself up out of bed and get out to go do it, to go get it. The get up, get out part came from going to a bar one Sunday afternoon in Montreal with a friend in late 2013, and there was no one else there, and there was this song on that I really dug. So I asked what it was, and it was a song by Outkast and Goody Mob called Get Up, Get Out. So I made a mental note and then properly listened to it at home, and it became one of my favorite songs, and it's really neat looking back on how, like, that decision that one day at the bar to ask about the song that was playing, how that song came a few years later, like full circle, came to influence not only the name of this channel, but also like this like overall approach to life and to accomplishing stuff that I have, which is that the first thing to do is to get up out of bed. While I was going through depression, while I was suffering from depression, I really started to understand that for me, any form of success needs to start with how I begin my day. It needs to start with what I do after my alarm clock goes off. It needs to start with my morning routine. Developing a decent routine ended up taking a while. There was a lot of trial and error involved. It was also pretty frustrating at times because I had expected to not only develop a morning routine like pretty much right off the bat, but I had expected to also like stick with it right away. I set the ideal self pretty far from the real self. There was a gap. For those of you who have seen Legally Blonde, actually one of my mom and I's favorite movies, we actually quote it like all the time. For those of you who have seen it, there's this scene where Reese Witherspoon's character, Elle Woods, basically got the wrong memo for a Halloween party and showed up in the wrong type of costume, and then got embarrassed, and then basically just had this like enough's enough moment about not being taken seriously as a Harvard Law School student, and she stormed out saying, I'll show you how valuable Elle Woods can be. And then the next few scenes are her basically like turning her academic life around and buying a computer and studying really hard and answering questions in class, and all with this like upbeat music playing in the movie in the background. And the idea is that not only is she making a significant change in her day-to-day life and approach to school, but she is also driven and focused and committed to maintaining this change. You bend and snap. I had to reference that. I had to. that scene where Elle Woods is just so driven and focused actually ended up serving as a great example of, bear with me, of what not to expect right off the bat when it comes to change. A big reason why the process for me of developing a solid morning routine was super frustrating was because I expected my life to just do like a complete 180 and I would become this driven, focused, committed individual and all this would like instantaneously happen just by implementing the first morning routine that I came up with. Yeah, ideal self, real self. Yeah, big discrepancy. So, what was the goal of my morning routine? What still is the goal of my morning routine? The goal is to go from waking up and getting out of bed to starting whatever my work or errands are for that day, and to do so as quickly as possible, yet in a manner that isn't rushed, if that makes sense. Basically get from point A, waking up, to point B, being productive. And the morning routine is what bridges the gap. While even from the get-go, I had a pretty clear understanding of what my point A and point B were, and that it was the morning routine that would get me from point A to point B. Like I said, it took me a lot longer than I'd expected to get a solid routine down. It took me a lot longer because, like with so many other things in life that are a little new to us, how can you fully know what works for you and what doesn't until you actually try it? In university, I never really had a morning routine, in part because, at least with my university experience, there wasn't too much routine as a student. And also because in university, I had different mental health needs. And so, unlike after university, morning routines weren't as necessary for my mental health as they are now. So when I started to really put like conscious thought into what a morning routine could look like, I had to, again, like with so many other things in life that are a little new to us, I had to learn through trial and error what worked for me and what didn't. I started off the way really anyone would. I asked the homie of all homies, Google. I Googled and started reading articles and blogs and like trying to combine all the different things that I read into this one like super morning routine. Things like journaling right away, meditating, when to wake up based on sleep cycles, alarm types, exercise, expressing gratitude. I looked into a bunch of stuff. Then I would play around with like the amount of each. Like, how long should I meditate for? 10 minutes? 20 minutes? How much exercise? What kind of exercise? How much journaling? I kept trying all these different combinations and fell into this pattern where I wasn't sure if the current routine itself either wasn't working or if I needed to stick it out a little longer because, like we all know, it takes a bit of time for habits to develop. Eventually, I would always switch it up. And then eventually, like further down the road, so like maybe even only like a couple or so months ago, I had this simple yet powerful realization that my routines weren't panning out because I was forgetting this one important factor. And check this out. It wasn't because I was expecting like too much out of my morning routine in terms of number of things I wanted to do between point A of getting up and point B of starting my day's productivity. It was more so because I had not yet fully considered the various emotional states in which I would wake up, as well as the various emotional states that I would expect to come with whatever I had planned for that specific day. I recognized this because for a period of time, my morning routine involved music. And it involved putting on headphones and listening to The Genesis by Nas, as well as New York State of Mind, the first two tracks off of Illmatic. I recognized that the reason that these two songs didn't work every morning was because the vibes and the energy that these two songs gave me weren't always the ones that I needed. Don't get me wrong, some days nothing is better than hearing Nas and the Genesis with Represent, the Illmatic, and then it right away going to the first notes of New York State of Mind and him going straight out the fucking dungeons of rap, and you just get so hyped. Don't get me wrong, some days, totally necessary. But some days, I needed a different vibe. Some days the vibe is more of a No Rain by Blind Melon type vibe, or a Mother by Pink Floyd vibe, or Still Sane by Lorde. That was the key thing, the key ingredient that my morning routine was missing. It was missing a catering to my current emotional state and my projected emotional state for that day. Zane Lau, who used to work for BBC Radio and is now in Apple Music, Zane has, in my mind, the best description of what makes a song. In this YouTube video made by Noisy, Zane talks about how essentially the power of music is in how it can amplify whatever emotions you are currently feeling or want to currently feel. So, like he said, for example, if you're feeling heartbroken, playing a song that evokes that feeling will make you feel it even more. And as a result, you feel this connection with the artist and sense of security through these shared feelings. I realized that whatever emotion I would either want to feel that day or would expect to feel that day, I needed to make part of my morning routine revolve around listening to that specific song that I felt would best capture that specific current or expected emotion. So how do I do that? Well, let me first walk you through the latter part of my morning routine, if you will. After getting out of bed, I head to the front door, and no matter the weather, I open it up and let the fresh air just hit me and wake me up even more. I then go back to my room where I've already set up my yoga mat the night before, and I do the intro from the P90X yoga video, so 12-ish minutes of light yoga. I then meditate on that mat for another 10 minutes. Then go to the kitchen, put on the kettle, take a quick shower. I try and make it a cold shower. Although some days I straight up just don't because it sucks. Hop out, change, make the coffee, make some brekkie, and by then I'm ready to start with emails and just overall being productive. Whole thing takes about an hour or so. This is my point A to point B and the gap in between. The music component, the emotional component, comes right when my alarm goes off. The night before, before going to sleep, I take a moment to reflect on what my day will look like tomorrow, not only from a scheduling perspective, but also from an emotional perspective. Is it gonna be a routine day? Will I be meeting up with someone? If yes, are we meeting to just chill? Should I be expecting heavy conversation? Will I be stepping out of my comfort zone at any point? Whatever the day has in store, I try and focus on what the emotion of that day will feel like, and then I go through my mental music library, my mental iTunes, and come up with the right song to capture it. Once I have that song, I set it up on either my iPod or my phone, and then when I wake up, I put the headphones on, and while I'm heading to the door for some fresh air, and while heading back to my room after for yoga, I listen to that song and just focus on the emotion and do my best to get in the zone for that day from an emotional standpoint. This honestly does fucking wonders for me and my mental health. Off the bat, first thing in the morning, focusing on the day's emotions via the right song does fucking wonders. It gets me in the zone. And there's no bullshit behind it with me. I do my best to honestly capture the emotion. Like if I'm feeling gloomy or hung up on someone, I'm not gonna put on something hard like the Genesis and New York State of Mind. I'll put on something like Sunday by Earl Sweatshirt. I'm not gonna fake my emotions. So yeah, coming back to Elle Woods and Legally Blonde, I don't expect every day to be jam-packed with that level of drive and focus and commitment. I expect that some days are going to be different. I've also come to understand that, for me at least, the gold standard for productivity and an overall solid day is not expressed via that scene in Legally Blonde and with fast-paced, upbeat music. The gold standard for me is actually more of a mellow type song with a vibe that does depict a high level of focus and drive, but expressed in a demeanor that's cool and calm and collected because of the confidence attained from having prepared well for whatever that particular day will be throwing at you. For me, the gold standard song that I get so excited when I realize the night before that it's the right one for me to start my day tomorrow with, the gold standard song is Daily Routine by Joey Badass off his mixtape 1999. That's the gold standard. That instrumental mixed with his voice and that flow and the way he goes, used to beg Mob Dukes for lunch money, honeys used to run from me when pockets was dust bunnies, now what's funny? And right after he says, now what's funny, the drums kick in and he just seamlessly continues with, as we done came up and conquered even the future looking bonkers from Compton to Yonkers. And I don't know, man, I just can't describe it. That song as a whole, just does something special to me. It just evokes the type of feeling and energy and attitude that I don't know will get me places in the world. I don't know how to describe it. Fuck it, I don't have to describe it. If it feels right, it feels right. So yeah, to wrap it up, morning routines, at least for me, have made such a difference in terms of my mental health. On a personal victory level, being able to conquer mornings in that I can now get out of bed when I plan on getting out of bed and get productive in a relatively short period of time after getting out of bed. On a personal victory level, this is beyond massive for me. Because once upon a short time ago, I was not able to do that. And I hated this. I hated this about myself. Everyone is different and everyone will have different morning routines or might not even want them or need them. Everyone is different. If you are in the process of developing one, consider your upcoming day's emotions. Like I've said in this video, for me, it does wonders. And like I also said, for me, I try and consider those emotions through that most beautiful outlet that is music.